God will be sending us a warning so as to purify us or prepare us. It is a phenomenon which will be seen and felt in all the world and everywhere. It's like two stars that crash and make a lot of noise and a lot of light, but the stars, don't fall. It is going to be something like an interior feeling of sorrow and pain for having offended God. God will help us to see clearly the harm we are causing Him and all the evil things we do. The warning is something that is first seen in the air everywhere in the world and immediately is transmitted into the interior of our souls. It will be like fire. It will not burn our flesh, but we will feel it bodily and interiorly. The chastisement is conditional and depends on whether or not mankind heeds the warnings. Moreover, I have seen the chastisement. I can assure you that if it comes, it will be worse than being enveloped in fire, worse than having fire above and beneath you. At a certain moment, not a single motor or machine will function. A terrible heat wave will strike the earth, and men will begin to feel a great thirst. In desperation, they will seek water, but this will evaporate from the heat. Then almost everyone will despair, and they will seek to kill one another, but they will lose their strength and fall to the ground. That was horrible to see. We were really frightened, and I know no words that could explain it. We saw rivers change into blood. In the final days, we will look up in our heavens and we will witness the return of the two brothers who helped create this world in the birthing time. Pogam Hoya is the guardian of our North Pole, and his brother, Balongaw Hoya, is the guardian of the South Pole. They will leave messages and warnings to those on earth who remember the old ways, allowing us to change our ways. Then the blue star Kachina would physically appear in our heavens, which would mean that we were in the end times. The return of the blue star Kachina will be the alarm clock that tells us of the new day and new way of life, a new world that is coming. This is when the changes will begin. Not far behind the blue Kachina will come the Purifier, the red star Kachina, who will bring the day of purification. The Purifier will issue forth a great red light. When the Purifier comes, we will see him first as a small red star, which will come very close and sit in our heavens watching us. Then one morning in a moment, we will awaken to the red dawn. The sky will be the color of blood. Many things will then begin to happen that right now we are not sure of their exact nature. For much of reality will not be as it is now. They will start as fires that burn within us, and we will burn up with desires and conflict if we do not remember the original teachings and return to the peaceful way of life. There will be many strange beasts upon the earth in those days, some from the past and some that we have never seen. Life will get very perverted and there will be little social order. In these times, many will ask for the mountains themselves to fall upon them just to end their misery. The Garabandal apparitions are purported apparitions of Saint Michael the Archangel and the Blessed Virgin Mary that are claimed to have occurred from 1961 to 1965 to four young schoolgirls in the rural village of San Sebastian de Garabandal in northern Spain. According to the visionaries, the purpose of the visitations was to call for a conversion of heart. The visionaries reported receiving two messages, one directly from the Blessed Virgin Mary and the other from the Virgin Mary by way of Saint Michael the Archangel. The Hopi are a Native American tribe who primarily live on the Hopi Reservation in northeastern Arizona. The Hopi maintain a complex religious and mythological tradition stretching back over centuries. Kachinas are spirits or personification of things in the real world. Although not worshipped, each is viewed as a powerful being that, if given respect, can use his particular power for human good, bringing rainfall, healing, fertility, or protection, for example. One observer has written, "The central theme of the Kachina religion is the presence of life in all objects that fill the universe. Everything has an essence or a life force, and humans must interact with these or fail to survive." I believe the prophecies of Garabandal and the Hopis refer to the same future event, and that this future event is one and the same as the heavenly sign prophesied in chapter 12 of the book of Revelation. My reasons for this are the following. They both refer to a heavenly sign marked by two bright stars that will bring down on our planet supernatural fire which will be felt by our bodies interiorly. They both claim that this heavenly sign will serve as a warning that will help change our ways in order to avoid a chastisement or purification that will occur later if we fail to heed this warning. This warning, according to the Hopi prophecy, will be conveyed by heavenly messengers that include the guardians of the earth's north and south poles, namely Poganghoya and his brother Palongauhoya. In a similar manner, the book of Revelation also talks about angels guarding the four corners of the earth, that is, the north, south, east, and west during the last days. Revelation chapter 7 verses 1 to 3. After this I saw four angels standing at the four corners of the earth, holding back the four winds of the earth to prevent any wind from blowing on the land or on the sea or on any tree. Just like the Hopi prophecy, the prophecies of Garabandal can be found written in the book of Revelation as well. Garabandal talks about two stars clashing and creating a lot of noise, which will cause an interior feeling of sorrow and pain to those witnessing it. Similarly, Revelation talks about a woman in heaven making a lot of noise by crying out in pain due to childbirth. Revelation chapter 12 verses 1 to 2. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Garabandal talks about fire coming down from heaven, and Revelation talks about stars out of the sky being flung to the earth. Revelation chapter 12 verses 3 to 4. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its heads. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. Anyone who has seen shooting stars or meteors falling from the sky will liken them to balls of fire coming down from heaven. But does Revelation also talk about 2 stars clashing with each other? I believe the sign of the red dragon appearing in heaven corresponds to the red star Kachina of Hopi prophecy, and that the crown of 12 stars on the head of the woman, also appearing in heaven, is one and the same as the blue star Kachina of Hopi prophecy. The red dragon being described as having a tail tells us that the celestial body being referred to is that of a comet. A comet is an icy small solar system body that, when passing close to the sun, warms and begins to release gases, a process called outgassing. This produces a visible atmosphere or coma, and sometimes also a tail. The 7 heads of the dragon tells us that this comet has 7 heads or comas, making it a comet cluster. The same can be said of the crown of 12 stars, which I believe to be a comet cluster made up of 12 comas. A good example of a well-known comet cluster that appears to have several heads or comas is that of Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9. This comet broke apart into at least 21 fragments in July 1992 and collided with Jupiter in July 1994. I believe the third of the stars which the red dragon's tail will fling to the earth refer to a third of the crown of 12 stars, or 4 of the comet's 12 comas to be exact. And for this to occur, Earth will have to pass through the tail of the red star Kachina. On May 19, 1910, Halley's Comet passed directly between the Sun and Earth. From Greenwich on the night of the Earth's passage through Comet Halley's tail, it has been noticed that strange bands of light appeared in the sky. Comet tails are formed of dust and gases, becoming visible through different phenomena. The dust reflects sunlight directly and the gases glow from ionization. Dust from a comet's tail will burn as it enters Earth's atmosphere. So when Earth passes through the tail of the red star Kachina, we will be seeing streaks of fire throughout the sky. This is why the Hopi prophecy tells us that one morning we will awaken to the red dawn where the sky will be the color of blood. I also believe that the 1/3 of the crown of 12 stars that the red dragon's tail will fling to the earth, which is a total of 4 stars, will also be the first 4 trumpets sounded by the 7 angels of Revelation. These falling stars will make a loud noise like that of a trumpet as they enter Earth's atmosphere, shattering to pieces and striking the land, sea, and rivers. These shattered pieces will strike trees and kill birds, animals, humans, and marine life in its path, shedding their blood and mixing with them as they fall.
It will also poison many water supplies.
Revelation chapter 8 verses 6 to 12. Then the seven angels who had the seven trumpets prepared to sound them. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. The second angel sounded his trumpet, and something like a huge mountain, all ablaze, was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned into blood, a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the waters that had become bitter. The fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. A third of the day was without light, and also a third of the night.
I believe the fourth star will remain suspended between the earth and the moon and become Earth's second moon. It will be large and close enough to cover a third of the morning or evening sky and will block a third of the light coming from the sun, moon, and stars. Also, this fourth star will strike the moon, causing three large pieces of the moon to break away from it. These three large pieces of the moon, in turn, will be the fifth, sixth, and seventh trumpets that will be blown by the last three angels of Revelation. Now remember, the sign of Revelation 12 is a time marker portending remarkable events soon to happen, and I believe it portends the sounding of the seven trumpets. Thus, the sign of Revelation 12 should happen before the seven trumpets are blown and not after. I want to emphasize this because the seventh trumpet was blown in Revelation 11, and some think that the sign of Revelation 12 will happen after this event.
Revelation chapter 11 verses 15 to 18. The seventh angel sounded his trumpet, and there were loud voices in heaven which said, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Messiah, and he will reign forever and ever." And the 24 elders who were seated on their thrones before God fell on their faces and worshipped God, saying, "We give thanks to you, Lord God Almighty, the one who is and who was, because you have taken your great power and have begun to reign. The nations were angry, and your wrath has come. The time has come for judging the dead and for rewarding your servants the prophets and your people who revere your name, both great and small, and for destroying those who destroy the earth."
The seventh trumpet is clearly the last trumpet that will sound just before the millennial reign of Christ starts. And this chapter should have been the end of the revelation given to Apostle John. However, there are many more details about future events that were not discussed at this point. So starting at Revelation 12, the prophetic narrative brings us back in time to just before the seven trumpets are sounded. Afterwards, the succeeding chapters of Revelation after chapter 12 moves forward in time once again, and this time more details about the future are given. Now, do we have scientific proofs that two such comets, that is, the blue and red star Kachinas, are actually approaching Earth? Please watch part 2 of this video titled Revelation 12 Explained, Planets X, 9, 10, Nibiru, and Tiamat. Thank you.